as a young Lance Corporal, right, you're not necessarily making the right decisions, and maybe you're facing a court martial. And in the military, it seems like we have less rights than as civilians. So, what, as a reminder to people, if we are being charged, right, there's a certain way that you're treated. You're almost treated as if you're guilty, right, by your command, by everybody around you. So, what are my rights in the military? Because I know they're different than if I was just a standard civilian. If I'm being accused of a crime that is for general court martial.
Well, I think the interesting thing about that is everyone who we defend has, either stood on the yellow footprints or they have volunteered to join the military, and they swore to uphold and protect the Constitution. And the Constitution guarantees that you are innocent until proven guilty. That is a constitutional guarantee. But you ask a Lance Corporal that is accused of a sex assault, they sure as hell don't feel that way. And so these commands, unless you have a very squared away command, and it's unfortunately, it's a very low percentage that we see. These Marines and these soldiers are treated as if they're guilty until proven innocent. They're stripped of their job, and while they're still getting paid and employed, they're often doing crap work. They're not working in their MOS. Their first sergeant or their chain of command treats them like garbage. They get shunned away from the rest of the community, and this can happen for 4, 6, 10, 12 months while you're pending trial. And so there's this notion of guilty until proven innocent. And let's say we prove your innocence. Oh, by the way, we're not required to prove innocence in a court martial. The government's required to prove your guilt beyond a reasonable doubt, but it doesn't feel that way in the military oftentimes. But let's say we do that, and you're found not guilty, and it took a year to go to a trial. Well, now what the hell what? You've lost a year. Your fit reps or your NCOERs or your evals are going to probably not be what they would have been had you not been in a court martial. You've lost a year. And it's going to make that becomes very difficult to overcome. Now, it can certainly be overcome. I represented a service member charged with attempted murder quite many years ago. He was found not guilty, and I saw him last year, and he made E8, and he was E4 when I represented him. So you can certainly overcome that, but you get treated like garbage. And if you're not being treated like garbage, you are lucky. And you shouldn't have to be lucky, but that's just the way it is in the military. And it's a problem, but that's just kind of the way the military is. But what rights do you have? Well, again, you are innocent until you're proven guilty. The biggest right I always tell people to use is this right to remain silent. Nobody knows how to shut up these days. And by shutting up, if you're accused of a crime, whether you did the crime, whether you didn't do the crime, whether you kind of did the crime, whether your buddies did the crime and you were involved in it, whatever it happens to be, if you're under investigation by CID, NCIS, OSI, and they read you your rights, your Article 31 Bravo rights, invoke them, use them, and stop talking and demand a lawyer. And people always say, well, Mr. Bilecki, Tim, aren't I going to look guilty? Of course the command thinks you're guilty. I'd much rather look guilty than be found guilty. And so if you had two scenarios, you invoke your rights and you look guilty, or Lance Corporal 𝗕𝗏𝗏 next to you doesn't want to look guilty, so he goes and makes a statement. He gets found guilty. Fast forward a year. I'd much rather look guilty and enjoy my freedom doing what the hell I want to do than my Lance Corporal buddy who didn't want to look guilty, but now he's locked up over at the confinement facility, hanging out there for 5 to 10 years.